Hello, I hope you're having a good Ash Wednesday. And as we did last year, this year we're going to have a series of saint videos that last us through the season of Lent. It's good during Lent to do something a little bit extra, and so it wouldn't hurt me to talk about some saints. And it would be good for everybody else to listen to the stories of the saints and give it some thought, because they are the heroes of our faith who help us to who might inspire us to lead the Christian life a little bit more fully. And so today I thought it might be nice to begin with St. Wenceslas. Now, if you've heard of St. Wenceslas, it probably is because of the Christmas carol, which we sing every year. I'll sing you the first verse. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Anyway, that's the first verse of Good King Wenceslas. Now, it takes place on the Feast of Stephen, which is December 26th, the day after Christmas. And it's a story about a king who looks out his window and sees a poor man struggling through the snow, collecting wood. Now, the carol is something I want to talk about a little bit more later, but first I'd like to tell you about the history of St. Wenceslas. He wasn't actually a king. Actually, he may have been at the very end of his life. But he was the son of the Duke of Bohemia. Bohemia is a land that is in Eastern Europe. It's populated partly by Czechs, partly by Slovaks. And it used to be, for a while, it was a kingdom. Anyway, he was the son of the Duke, and he was born in the year 907. Now, at the time, there was a great deal of controversy and uncertainty in Bohemia, because they weren't sure whether the country was going to be Christian or whether they were going to follow the old pagan gods. And so there was a great deal of struggle about that. Wenceslas's grandmother, whose name was Ludmilla, was very strong in her Christian faith, and she had quite an influence on Wenceslas. And so he grew up practicing Christianity. He supposedly led an otherworldly life, one in which he prayed a great deal, one in which he cared about the poor, one in which he did his best to keep an eye on heaven. Well, as the years went by, he became the successor to his father. And as such, he embarked on a program to help to build up the faith. He also, though, was doing his best to ensure peaceful relations with the Germans, and that upset the pagan party in Bohemia. Anyway, his brother, Boleslas, on the feast of Cosmas and Damian, invited Wenceslas to a celebration, and on his way there, he was attacked by Boleslas and his supporters, and he was murdered. So he died at the age of 22. So he led a short life, and it was a difficult life, and a life that ended tragically, but it was also a life that had great import, because people had seen how he acted. They saw that he was a man of peace. They saw that he was a man whose life was marked by a sense of love of God, love of neighbor, and they were so inspired that in the years after his death, the country actually became more and more Christian, and the pagan gods were cast aside, and the one true God was embraced. And so there we are, and that's really the story of St. Wenceslas. Now, that Christmas carol was an English carol that came into being hundreds of years later, but it was inspired by the sort of life he led, and I've always liked it. One year on the feast of St. Wenceslas, I had my congregation actually sing the Christmas carol. And I won't sing for you the whole thing today, but what happens in the song is this. He looks out the window, as I said before, and he sees a poor man And he decides he needs to do something to help. So he calls a page, a young boy who was at the court, and said, let's go. Let's bring that man some wood. Let's bring that man some food. And so they go off into the wintry night to help the poor man. But they begin to struggle. The page says, Sire, the night is darker now, and the wind blows stronger. Fails my heart, I know not how. I can go no longer. Mark my footsteps, my good page, tread now in them boldly. Thou shalt find the winter's rage, freeze your blood less coldly. So the poor page is freezing, and Wenceslas says, follow in my footsteps, and you'll see it's not so cold. In his master's steps he trod, where the snow lay dinted. Heat was in the very sod, which the saint had printed. Therefore, Christian men, be sure, wealth or rank possessing, ye who now will bless the poor, shall yourselves find blessing. So in the saint's footsteps, the page found warmth, and he was able to continue. And the whole point of this song is we need to follow in the saints' footsteps. We need to look around us and see people who might need our help. We need to be people who live our faith well, not just believe, but who live it, who practice it, who preach it. Because God is hoping that we, whether we're sons of a duke or just regular people, are going to make a difference in this world. We're going to make the lives of the people around us better and happier and holier. And so St. Wenceslas is a good example of somebody who led a short life and a tumultuous life, but a good life. And in doing so, he inspired people hundreds of years later to go out there and help those in need. It's the sort of life we should all aspire to, a life in which we set the good example, a life in which we live the Christian faith so well that other people desire to do the same. God bless you.